Okay, real talk. If your Christmas tree is looking a little store-bought beige, today we're fixing that. Because in the next few minutes, we're gonna make these adorable quilted ornament balls that look fancy pants and heirloomy, but require zero sewing. Like your needle can stay in timeout. All you need is a styrofoam ball, some fabric scraps, straight pins, and maybe a little ribbon, and then we're basically playing the world's coziest game of fold and poke. It's weirdly satisfying. Also, slightly dangerous if you get too confident with those pins, so maybe don't do this while riding in a sleigh. Hey friends, welcome to my sewing room. My name's Becca, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make quilted ornament balls for your tree using simple folds with fabric and pins. This is a super easy, super friendly DIY project that's perfect for scraps, perfect for gifts, and perfect for anyone who wants crafty holiday vibes without committing to a full sewing situation. All right, grab your supplies and let's make your tree look like it belongs in a Hallmark movie, but with more pins. Before we start putting our ornament together, I need to talk to you about your fabric selection. I have learned through the years that it is best to get fabrics that read almost as solids so that you get the most contrast. You want colors that have good contrast from each other and fabrics that are kind of representing as a solid or a textured solid. This one, when I look at it, I just see red. Yes, it has a little bit of white in here, but that is not overpowering the white. This is definitely red. This is a white, and this is definitely a green. There might be other elements in those fabrics, but when you look at it closely, that's what you see. So from each of these fabrics, I'm going to cut two 2.5-inch strips. And again, that's because I'm working with a 4-inch ball. I might not need as much if I were using the 3-inch ball. In addition to your fabric, you're going to need some ribbon. I have some 5/8 grosgrain. I don't even know if I said that right. Some ornament caps. This is optional. You don't have to have it if you don't want to. A styrofoam ball and some dress pins. And all of these items will be linked in the description box down below. I got everything off Amazon, so it should be really easy to find. I do want to talk to you about the styrofoam ball though. Couple of things. I am working with a 4-inch ball this time, and normally, I work with a 3-inch diameter styrofoam ball, so kind of keep that in mind. Mine's going to be bigger than yours might be. Secondly, I've worked with those kind of bumpy styrofoam balls before, and there's something about the sound of the pins going in. It's very crunchy. I don't love it, and I don't like the way it feels, so I always go with the smooth styrofoam ball instead of the other one. I don't even know what those are called. So the ones that I have linked down below are actually the ones that I prefer. Once we've decided on our fabric selection, I usually go for 3 prints, though you could definitely do more if you wanted to, but 3 seems to be the right balance for me. We just need to cut some 2.5-inch squares. So from each of these 3 fabric prints, I cut 2.5-inch by width of fabric strips and then just subcut them into 2.5-inch squares. This goes together so stinking easily. Let's get started. The first thing that we'll want to do is figure out what is going to be the first fabric on the ball. And I think I'm going to go with red, and then the second will be white, and then the third will be green. And if I do need to do a repeat, at that point I'll bring in some red, and I'll repeat to white, and I'll repeat to green if needed. But that's the pattern that I'm going to go with. The reason why I'm choosing that pattern is because I feel like there's maximum contrast when they're laid out this way. So let's see how this goes together. To start, I like to get some sort of a cup or a surface that my ball can sit in, because quite honestly, this thing's gonna roll around on you. Not so much at the beginning, but once you get fabric built up on one side, it's gonna get top heavy and it's gonna wanna fall to that other side. So if you have something for this ornament ball to rest on, it'll just save you the annoyance of having to hold it in the other hand. To start, we're going to pull out 4 of our first fabric, and for each of these, we're going to fold them in half twice, with the wrong sides of the fabric touching each other. You can, if you want to, bring in an iron and really crease that seam down. I usually don't do that because I find finger pressing is enough. And by finger pressing, this makes it a portable craft that I don't have to do sitting at my sewing machine. I can actually take this into the front room, and while we're enjoying some TV time or some family time, I can fold up a bunch of these squares and start pinning them into the styrofoam ball. When we're folding this in half twice, what we're actually doing is creasing the fabric in two directions so that we know exactly where the center of that square is. And that's going to be important for putting the fabric onto that styrofoam ball. Once I have those pieces folded, I'm going to bring my dress pins out. Be a little careful here, I don't want to spill them. And I'm going to take a pin, open up a square, and put the pin directly through that point where those two folds meet. And then I'll just pull it back in half. I don't need to fold it both ways. So I'm going to do that for all four of these, just so I have them ready to go. Put the pin in the dead center of the fabric, fold it back in half, and I'll stack those up over there. Okay, now we're going to put these on our styrofoam ball. So I'm actually going to start by holding it because it's going to be easy to hold. I'm going to put one in the styrofoam ball, and I'm just going to make sure that that is nice and straight. The raw edges are somewhat lined up. Then I'm going to take one edge here and I'm going to fold it so that I have a 45-degree line. I'm looking to see that these raw edges are lined up down here. I overpin mine. I don't think everybody pins as much as I do for these, but this is what I do. I put a pin down here in the corner, making sure I'm going through all of those layers, and then a pin right here in the middle, making sure I'm going through all four of those layers. And then I fold this other side so that that folded edge bumps right up against the folded edge from the other side. And I'm going to pin in the middle and in the corner, just like I did on the other part. Make sure you're going through all the layers of the fabric and you're pushing that pin in nice and securely. You don't want it to pop out. Now I'm going to grab the next one that I have, and I'm going to do the opposite side. So I'm going to put the pin right at the point where that other piece of fabric is touching. I want the fabric to kiss. I don't want it to overlap, and I don't want a gap. Then I'm going to kind of eyeball this, though you could certainly measure if you want to. You want to make sure that this folded edge is going parallel to this raw edge, and you're going to repeat the same thing that you did over here. You're going to fold it in half, and this time when I do, I'm looking at this folded line to make sure that I'm continuing that line as best I can over onto the other side. And then once I know everything's in the right place, I'm going to pin in the corner, pin in the middle, and then fold this down. Make sure I'm continuing that line. The fabric is nice and touching. Pin in the middle, and pin in the corner. Now we've got something that looks like either a bow tie or an X-wing. You tell me what you see. We're going to do the same thing that we did to these in these two corners or these two sides so that we're creating kind of a square unit. I'm going to put it right up here in the middle. I want all the fabric to come to the middle. I'm not worried about whether or not the ends down here look great because that's going to be covered up as we add our layers. Just going to make sure that the fold is going parallel to those two creases that I made, and I'm going to fold into the middle. And I'm going to try my best to make sure that this fold right here, these two fabrics are touching when I do that. Put a pin in the corner. Put a pin in the middle. fold this side, making sure that I'm keeping all the fabric butting up next to each other the best I can. And then I'll put a pin in the middle. And a pin in the corner. You may notice that I have a little bit of a bubble right here. I don't know if you can see that on camera. Again, this is going to be okay. The ends down here are very forgiving because they're going to be covered up by that next layer. The most important point is that these folded lines are all coming to a nice clean center, and they're lined up the right way. That's what you're going to see when the ornament is all done. I have also had ornaments that I've put together where sometimes you can see just a little sliver of the white in between the two fabrics, and that has always worked out to be okay, so don't stress about that. But I would make sure it's minimal. I wouldn't set it up so that it's like a quarter of an inch or anything like that. Make sure that it's just a sliver if you do have to have some white showing. There we have the top of our ball, and this is actually going to be one side. It's not going to be up like this. It's going to be on the side like that. So we're going to put our next layer on. When we start, we always start with 4 squares of fabric, but every layer after that is going to have 8. So I'm going to count off 8 of my white squares. I'm going to set this over here so it doesn't roll out of the way. And I'm going to fold these in half twice, just like I did with the red. And I'll put a pin right in the middle. Now that I have all of the pins in here, I'm going to grab a measuring tape or a ruler, and I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch down from that starting point. And I'm going to put that 1/2 inch mark on every single side, not all 8 points, just the 4 sides. I'm using a Soline air-soluble pen for this, and that just means that the mark is going to go away on its own without me having to do anything else. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing that I did before, except this time, those areas where we put those 1/2 inch marks, I'm going to put the pin in that slot from the previous layer at that 1/2 inch mark. And I'm not even going to fold these yet. I'm just going to get everything in place. You could fold them now if you wanted to. I just want to get them in here, get it switched up a bit. Just like we did in the first layer, we're going to fold the sides in, making sure that we're keeping this fold parallel to the fold line that's in the middle. And we're continuing this line down, and then we're going to pin in the middle and then in the corner, going through all 4 layers of those fabrics. And now I'm going to mark just a little bit more than a 1/2 inch on these 4 lines. So I'm going to do like 5/8 of an inch, maybe even 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to go with 3/4 of an inch. It's personal preference. The more room that you have on this, the more exaggerated your star legs are going to kind of look, which I kind of like when they're offset a bit. I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. Put the pin in the slot at that 3/4 inch mark, fold it in half, fold those sides to continue that line. Check that out. It's starting to come together. If you hang it this way, it kind of looks like an Ohio star, but if you hang it this way, it kind of looks like a sawtooth star. I actually like to hang it this way, and we'll get to that at the end. That just means that the ornament cap is going to be at the top. We're going to continue the technique that we did with the white with the green. So I'm going to do a layer of green around here, and I'm going to follow those same measurements that I had before. I do want to point something out. I put this one in a little bit further down than I should have. So this is really easy to pull out. You just gently lift the fabric and it'll pull the pins out of the styrofoam ball, and then you can reposition it. I'm going to leave those pins in the fabric. I'll just poke them into the styrofoam ball once I get them in the right position. Put it right where it's supposed to go. Right there. There we go. And now I'll repin. Making sure that we're putting those points right on those measurements is going to help make sure that our legs on our star look right. Do you see right here? I do want to point this out to you. I think it's going to be okay, so I'm going to leave it. But this little white dot butting up against the white fabric, to me, can sometimes make this point not look as sharp as I want it to. And so that's why I was pointing out, you don't want overly printed fabrics. You really want something that reads more as a true solid. So I'm playing a little dangerous with this red with the white polka dot, but I think we're going to be okay. Also, I could have totally fixed that by just putting the green up against the red instead of putting the white in between the two, but I really want that low volume in between the two colors, so I'm gonna take that risk. So now I'm just going to continue the same thing that I did with the white with my green all the way around here, and then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to start doing it from the other side. Now with this 4-inch ball, I might need to do a 4th layer. The only difference here is when you do the first one, you're just doing those 4 to start your cross, your star. And then every layer after that, you're doing 8 pieces. The first layer is 1 distance, and the second layer is just a little bit beyond that. And I like to go with a 1/2 inch and then 3/4 of an inch all the way around. Once you're ready to do the other side, this is a little tricky because you need to make sure that the ball is lined up, though it is a little forgiving as long as you have a nice thick ribbon to put on the side. I like to put my finger in the dead center of that star and just turn it around so that the ball is directly up and down that way. I can also take a peek at the layers to make sure that they're lined up with the lip of the cup, and that'll help me make sure that I'm finding top and it's balanced. And so for the top layer, I like to find the center. You could do this by measuring, of course, with a measuring tape or just eyeballing it. It is a little forgiving, so I tend to eyeball it. And I just make a dot in there and I repeat everything that I did on this side to this side. And then when it's all done, we're going to put our ribbon and our cap on it. I am putting that 3rd row on now. I'm putting the green on, and I realized I may have told you something incorrect. As I'm adding this 3rd row, I'm just keeping the point of the green equal distance from the point of the white. When I put my white points on originally, that's when I did the offsetting, so I got that extra definition, but I'm just going to carry that forward. When I said carry forward, what I actually meant is I'm not going to measure 3/4 of an inch down on the off points. I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch down on all of the points, so I have the same amount of white showing everywhere. And now I'm going to do this side and this side. Put one here, and I'll fold them both in so that they're laying the way they're supposed to be. And you can see I'm starting to get a white border around that red star, which I think is very pretty. So I have my little ornament ball, which is not so little, all put together. And right here where the two sides kind of join each other, it's a bit messy and there are areas that are overlapping. I'm hoping that my ribbon should cover all of that nicely. If it doesn't, I could do a couple of things. The first one is I could step up the size of my ribbon just a little bit. I'm using a 5/8 width. Sometimes I've used a 1 inch. It just is personal preference. The other thing that I could do is come in with a pair of scissors and trim all of these prairie points so that they're all kind of going in one continuous line. And that might mean that I'm moving some of the pins up or down, but I think I'm gonna be okay. We're gonna try it without having to trim. I also want to show this little ornament topper. I got these off of Amazon. I've not used them before, but it's got this little plastic piece with some teeth that are kind of going up this way. And the idea is that you push it down into the styrofoam ball and it gives you a little hook on top that you can use to hang the ball onto your Christmas tree. Now, I'm a little unsure of how to work this because I do want to put my ribbon on here. So I think I'm going to put my ribbon on first and then finagle this into the ball somehow. But yeah, this might not work. If that doesn't work, you can always do a bunch of other things. I have been known to take the ribbon and wrap it around and then just put a piece of twine or string here to hang it. It really doesn't matter what you do. I've also even used the ribbon to make another ribbon hanger. I'll tell you, when you do that, if you want to make a hanger, you're going to want to make sure that the loop goes this way. If the loop goes from front to back, then your ornament is going to hang on the tree like this. That's not what you want to see. So you want to make sure your ornament is going from left, your loop is going from left to right. I'm going to try to put my ribbon on and see if I can use that cap. So I'm just measuring off a length of ribbon and I'm going to just kind of make sure that it overlaps itself a bit. I'm going to cut off a length. I would rather have this too long than too short. So I definitely have it overlapping. I'm going to put a piece here. I'm going to take a couple of pins and just secure the end of this ribbon in its place. One on each side. Then I'm going to pull this all the way around. I'm going to bring it back over here and I'm going to line it up so that it's right on top of the ribbon that I had before. Now, before I secure everything and lock it into place, I'm doing a quick check all the way around the sides to make sure that that ribbon is covering up all of my seams, and it is. So I'm pretty happy with the placement. I'm going to take a pin, put it here, and it's going through both layers of ribbon because we're overlapped at this point. And I've got a little bit that's hanging off right here. I have realized the error of my ways with these caps. There is no exposed foam and there is no hole on this ribbon to put this in. So unfortunately, that's a purchase that I'm not going to be able to use, but perhaps you watched this video before you ordered all the supplies. So maybe I saved you from buying those. I'm going to put mine together using ribbon as the loop. And so what I've done is I've put the ribbon all the way around. I secured it on both sides on the top, and I've just pulled it until the ribbon is overlapping on itself. And then I roll it around in my hand just to make sure that this ribbon is really covering that whole seam. And if I'm happy with the placement, then I'm going to do this really neat trick. I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to tuck the ribbon in here, so that I essentially have 3 layers right there at the top. And I'm going to try and set it up so that I have the loop at the top of the ornament, because this is where I'm going to put my my hanger through. So I want this to be the top, so I've got the loop right above it. I'm going to put a pin, a pin, a pin, and a pin. And it's going to go through all 3 layers of that ribbon, the double fold and then the one that's underneath. I guess honestly, it doesn't really matter too much where you put that double loop because you're going to cover it up anyway. But I like to kind of get it in place because then that serves as a visual marker for where I'm going to secure my loop. Now remember, I told you that if you put the loop on here from front to back, then this is what you're going to see on your tree. But if you put the loop on there from right to left or left to right, then this is what you're going to see on the tree. So I'm going to put my loop on here so that it's like that. I'm going to cut another bit, going to cut another length off of my ribbon. And I'm just going to make this a little loop. You can make it a bow, you can do whatever you want. You can make it as long as you want. This is all personal preference. So I'm going to tuck the unfinished end under so that it looks nice and finished. And then I'm going to pin on the other side, making sure that I'm coming past that raw edge. I want to make sure that this is somewhat even, right there. I'm going to pull my loop around, and I'm just going to make a little loop, just like this, just like that. So when I secure this onto the other side, I'm going to fold it just like I did before. I'm going to put the raw edge underneath, and I'm going to make sure that I'm securing this so that the top edge is lined up with the part of the ribbon that's up there. So I'm going to come in here and put 4 more pins in, going through all of those layers, 2 on one side and 2 on the other. This one can be a little tough to push through, so you might need a thimble or some other item to really push the pin in. I bent that one, so we're going to get another one. Now, you're not really going to see those when it's hanging on the tree, but this is what your finished ornament will look like. I've got a nice sized hanger that I can use. I can adjust that to whatever size that I need. And I can, if I want to, I could go through and put a few pins on the ribbon all the way around to make sure that it continues to hide all of those raw edges. Super easy, super beginner friendly project. And honestly, for an hour's worth of time, you can't beat what this ornament looks like. Look at these! You just made a quilted ornament with no sewing, which means you are officially a holiday wizard, a fabric sorcerer, a tiny decor legend. Seriously, I love how mine turned out. It's a little puffy, it's cute, and they use up the scraps that we're all pretending we didn't have. And they make your tree feel a little extra handmade and a little extra special. Also, if you're anything like me, you're going to make one and black out, and suddenly there will be 12. That's normal. That's the craft gremlin life. If you try these, I would love to see them. Tag me or drop a pic in the Facebook group so we can all collectively swoon over your fabric choices. And if you want more quick, cozy, no stress holiday projects, hit that subscribe button, hang out with me here, and I've got a lot more coming that is going to be big on the charm and low on the chaos. Happy crafting, friends, and may your pins stay sharp and your ribbons stay untangled. Bye! Oops, that one came undone.